off, or turn it on, but still.
And then hit the button.
Oh, yes. Now you hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year, especially Happy Chinese New Year. Yeah, I'm Diana Ding. I'm the founder and CEO of Silicon Valley Innovation channel, DingDingTV, and we are a content strategy company. I'm so honored that we're here at Rebecca Fanny's event, and the gentleman next to me is Chang Kim, and he's the CEO of Tapas Media. So first of all, we would start with Chang to introduce yourself and a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. So before I begin, just bear with me a little bit because I have this like nasty cold that I might be coughing, and my wife, gave me this like medication, and then it's like a candy-like stuff. I just put it in my mouth.
You are not going to fall asleep, right?
No, it's actually numbing down my tongue. So it might be like, yeah. I mean, I feel like it. So, but I'll try my best.
Don't worry, I was on Tamiflu for a while.
Me too, actually.
Well, I think that's going to be sounds more sexy, right?
California has been kind of crazy. But
Yes.
so thanks for having me. My name is Chang Kim. I was born and raised in Korea. I came to the U.S. when I was 20 for college. I transferred college and then graduated from here and then went back to Korea. And I worked at different places and came back to California in 2010 and been here since. So our company name is Tapas Media, and started this company in 2012. And before that, I was at Google, both in Seoul office and Mountain View office. I was at Google for about 4 years. The way I joined Google was the company that I co-founded and I was co-CEO at. It was a Korean company, but it was acquired by Google in 2008. I guess we were really lucky because we were the only Korean company that Google acquired. And 3 weeks after the acquisition, the Lehman Brothers, the financial crisis happened. So we were, kind of lucky. And before that, I worked at Samsung. So, my career path has been sort of like big company, small company, big company, startup, kind of like roller coaster. So, I guess, I, experience, have seen like, different parts of the world. So what we do at Tapas Media, by the way, the name, tapas comes from the Spanish food, right? I mean, bite-sized finger food. We're not in the food services, business necessarily. What we, try to do is to specialize in bite-sized, snackable content for mobile generation. So we're, content platform company. We're a technology company. And our product is called Tapastic, Tapastic. So you can, Google search Tapastic, and you can view our website. Essentially, what we do, is we built something like YouTube, but for comic creators. So, it's like a modern day Sunday newspaper comic, for mobile generation. I mean, the YouTube analogy is, if you have video content, you go to YouTube and self-publish. You build your fans, you build your channel, and then you can become a star. If you have sound and songs, you can go to SoundCloud and do the same thing. And we're essentially doing the same thing for comic creators. And over the 2 years, we have become leading online comic platform and community in the U.S. In terms of the number of creators participating. We have about 4,700 comic creators publishing their content on our platform. About 87,000 comics have been published so far, which have been viewed more than 200 million times. So that that's essentially what we do. I mean, sorry about this being a lot.
Well, it's good that you give us a whole picture of what you do. In China, actually, you being in a big company, like what you said, up and down. So what brought you to this Tapastic?
I don't know. I mean, it's like
You're drawing the comics yourself?
No. I'm not talented to draw comics myself. Even though I love reading comics, especially everyday life comics. It's just like visual storytelling. It's such a great way of visual storytelling. But going back to your question, especially at Google, my horizon for the word entrepreneur, I think, has been greatly expanded. I mean, I had a really great fortune of working some of the best people in the world, essentially. So I was doing Blogger.com, which had been rolled into Google Plus at some point. So I was part of the Google Plus team, and then they had this like great vibe of like startup like atmosphere, right? Every day, every Friday we would have the weekly meetings, and it was just like demo after demo, right? And then it had a great energy and vibe, and that's when I realized that entrepreneurship can be you can be like a big part of a big company and then still be entrepreneurs, and then or sometimes you can like
it's in your blood.
Yeah, it's like comic platform is not necessarily something I could do easily on at Google. So that's why I left. But if not, if I was doing trying to do something else, then there is definitely a way you can do that. Still as being part of a big company.
So about this company's idea originally is to have a successful business model in Korea, right? There were so many people here in the valley. They trying to look for the business model or any high-tech, technologies that they want to bring to Asian country. But you actually brought this model from Korea to United States.
Yeah. First of all, when I was ready to start my own business again, many of my investor friends were like, hey, try to look at something interesting in the Silicon Valley and then try to bring that to Korea.
Yes, that's everybody do.
Yeah, build another, excuse me, build another, there's this Korean e-commerce company called Coupang, and Eric Kim, who is in here, has invested in that company. So I have a great respect for the entrepreneur, Bum Kim, and Eric. But, they built a phenomenal e-commerce company. And their original, I guess, inspiration partly came from Groupon here. So, every time somebody says, "Oh, you look at the idea and then try to bring, that to Asian market," a lot of people, make fun of it because it's like copycat. But I don't believe that. Idea is what, 5% or 3% of your business.
What do you believe?
No, I believe that the other 97% is pure execution. User acquisition. Marketing. These are the things that you have to do anyway, right? That's the other 97%. So, I don't really think that bringing something from Silicon Valley to your country is not necessarily easy per se. But I would still say that bringing something interesting in Asian market and then try to globalize it, is arguably a bigger set of challenge. And that's what I specifically wanted to do because I saw so many Korean startups or other Asian, startups, come up with interesting ideas first. But, they don't necessarily try to, bring that to global. Korea used to have, this side world, which is, virtual, social network. We used to give virtual gifts in 1998. And then, there was this company called Dialpad, which is, essentially, voice over IP, internet telephony company, and that was 1997 or something like that. I still remember people, talking on the phone, in front of the computers in 1998. So I was like, that's fascinating. How come those never became global? How come,
how come?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So that has been my topic of thought for the last 10 years or something like that, and I was talking to a lot of people. I was putting together conferences. I was, holding, but so that was the reason why I wanted to give it a shot. To hey, this time when I do my own thing, I'll try to look at something interesting from Korean market, Asian market, and then try to globalize it.
Yeah, but I think you probably met some difficulties. What's the challenge when you talk to people, especially talk to the investors here in the Silicon Valley, and how do you convince them?
Yeah, so
where the money come from?
Yeah, so we were fortunate, to raise some angel funding followed by venture funding. So we were fortunate. But speaking of the challenges, to be honest, the biggest challenges came from actually investment side. This is what every entrepreneur has to go through, right? Raising money is difficult for any entrepreneur, but but when I say, and obviously when I talk to the investors here, I don't necessarily start by saying, oh, I'm gonna trying to bring this thing from Korea to here. That's not my first line. I'm trying to tackle the industry problems. And by the way, this thing took off hugely in Korea, and a lot of traditional investors in on Sandpit Road. Didn't seem to understand the full potential of it, and a lot of stories that I tell them is oh, okay, that's interesting, but So that's Korea, right?
So
that was a
So
one
what's
of the
the
biggest
real
challenges.
model and how do you make money?
Yeah, so we're a marketplace model where, I mean, think about YouTube or SoundCloud, where we allow people to self-publish their content, and then we do ads. We have the support system where fans can directly support their creators. We have a premium section where people can sell their content. Yeah.
That's very encouraging. I believe that many people have the same idea and want to do the same thing. And so the last one is, what's the tips or advice you want to give to the entrepreneurs from Asia and when they come to the States and go global?
Yeah, that's a great question. If there is anybody in this room who is ever thinking about, I want to spot something interesting in Asian market and bring outside of Asia and launch here, or vice versa. My advice would be, this is me from doing the same thing. My advice would be, try to look at beneath the surface. I mean, if you look at the surface, if you just read Tech Asia or whatever tech journal publications, and it's it's really easy to say, oh, everything here is there, and there's so many things
So
already
in
there.
one sentence, what's your suggestion?
Try to look beneath the surface. I mean, there's a lot of operational know-hows, small details you can learn from.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks.
Chang Kim.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you.